but it didn't get them through the battle. Tradition will get you to a certain place in life. You have, because to be honest, there are a certain amount of rules and regulations that you can use to get you to a certain place. For example, you can cheat your whole way through high school, but when it comes time for the high school graduation test, if you don't know nothing, guess what? You're through. There's so many ways that you can manipulate and you can try to control through tradition, but in order for you to get the right kind of victory or the right kind of battle, there has to be a release from the tradition. Now, I like this because David had enough faith, and what I like about it, he was only 15 to 19 years old. And that number 15 it speaks about a number of grace. There's a certain amount of grace that God has given to young people. But what we have to do as young people, we have to walk into that grace through faith. Because if I don't have the faith that I can defeat this enemy, and I'm leaning on tradition, I'll fail. But if I can step out of faith, and I understand that God got his hands on me, everything will work out in his favor. And David, he took 5 smooth stones, hit him in the middle of the head, and the giant fell. So Goliath fell, but it took David, somebody who was radical. If you're going to do anything for God, you got to be radical. Because what God is looking for is that radical faith. Now, I can imagine people thinking David was crazy. David, you getting ready to fight this giant. You have on no armor. You ain't nothing but a baby. And you have the audacity to step out on faith. You have the audacity to try to go against this giant. You have the audacity to try to sit here and fight a man who's 7 foot tall, all this armor, stronger than an ox, and you have the audacity to think that you're going to win. And I can see David, people looking at him, thinking he's crazy. Say, David, I can see the challenge right here. David, boy, you know you're crazy. You know you can't handle this. Yeah. David, why in the world would you put yourself at risk? When you're going to have faith, you got to understand you got to risk something. David knew there was a chance he could have been killed, but what I like about it, David had enough faith to recognize his covenant with God. He said, well, who is this uncircumcised Philistine? Who is this brother who's trying to make me feel dirty? I ain't even got no covenant with God. What possibly can he do to me? So we see that David was radical. He had enough faith, and people, I can imagine people coming against him. But you got to get to a point in life where it don't matter what folks say about you. I lived my whole entire life based on what somebody else thought about me. I have lived my whole entire life trying to figure out how can I please this or that person. I lived my whole entire life trying to be up all somebody's butt who really didn't mean me no good. And what I had to do from looking at this example from David and sticking with me is that it takes a release of faith. Because there will be a time in life when you will become isolated. And it's only going to be through faith that God can carry you through. Amen. That's my